Welcome to Nerdy Geek Talk, the source for all your nerdy geeky needs, and today we have episode 8 of Awesome Asylum. I am your host, Nightwolf, along with our other new hosts, Aaron, aka Maruyasha,
Wow.
and our other new host, Mike.
Howdy.
Alright, so we're going to start off with the new things we got in the past week or so. I personally haven't really gotten anything because I've just been really busy. Hopefully that'll change by the next time we do another episode. But Aaron, would you like to start
Yeah.
us off?
Well, I'll put like this to start off with. Every time I go to the comic shop, I leave a poor boy. That's what I do. But I had a ton of back issues to catch up on. I won't go through all those, but
hmm
some of the major things I grabbed, Darth Vader number 10, which I am behind on that. I need to catch up on that. Witchblade number 2, Image is doing a new Witchblade series. I highly recommend it based on the first issue. I haven't read the second issue yet, but the first issue was really good. Nightwing New Order number 5, Mr. Miracle number 6, some Batman stuff, and just catching up on other things as well, and the newer stuff for Booster Shot, which is the Action Comic storyline. And I grabbed a bunch of back issues, so
Nice.
that like what ifs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So that's about it
Alright.
for me.
Mike?
All I got this week was I picked up some comics, whatever was on my reserves, which is Punisher, some Batman, and again I'm behind, so I don't even know the issues off the issue numbers off the top of my head.
hmm
And I picked up the graphic novel, based on a Punisher. It's Welcome Back, Frank. That
Uh,
storyline, which is supposed to be pretty iconic and influenced part of the Daredevil series. Other than that, I
yeah,
just I just picked up a few Transformers.
nice.
Nice.
Oh, I also picked up, and I thought this was interesting. I forgot to mention this in the back issues. I grabbed all 5 issues of Man Without Fear, the Daredevil storyline that the Netflix series is based off of.
Oh,
Oh.
nice.
So I grabbed all 5 issues of that. My comic shop had so they used to release like small storylines in like box sets. Like they would
hmm
be like cardboard boxes with like a window on the front that would show one of the issues, and they had one of those, and it was like $15, so I grabbed it for all 5.
That's
For
cool.
that
So
price, you can't leave it behind.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
hoping this week to grab the first appearance of Poison Ivy, which I would have had to put $100 down on and subsequently pay it off, but someone grabbed it, so I didn't get to grab that.
Ah.
It's an expensive
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
so
Alright, so
but
the
the
first
yeah.
news event that we have to talk about is Deadpool being moved up from June 1st to May 18th this year, of course, and then also the New Mutants movie being moved from April 13th this year to February 22nd in 2019 next year,
God.
and then also Gambit being moved from February 14th next year to June 7th next year. I also
Huh.
saw that the Hollywood Reporter said that the New Mutants was moved mainly because it wouldn't overlap with Deadpool 2 in overseas markets, but that's a really big time to move it, so I'm not sure how true that is, or like if that's the only reason or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I don't even. What studio is putting out New Mutants again? It's
Fox.
not. Okay. All
Yeah, it's
right.
Fox. I
I
believe
All
was
right. That might.
I mean
all three of those are
Yeah.
Fox.
we already know it's far enough in its production that it got a trailer. We haven't even gotten that for Deadpool 2. Or, well, we got like a teaser stuff for like Deadpool 2. We didn't get like a full-on trailer, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
But
yeah,
like
cause
that's what I find interesting.
Cause like as we're going to discuss, like anyway, Disney is like releasing three huge movies in like the span of 1 month, so they don't seem too concerned about like overlapping box offices. But I guess
Yeah.
because the New Mutants and Deadpool 2 might technically be in the same universe, that's what's like
That
keeping
Well,
kind.
them from
what's
overlapping at all. But it's very odd.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about that is they just acquired Fox and all this stuff is happening, and it's a matter of are these decisions that Fox put in place that are just finally happening and they're just happening like as Disney is acquiring all their assets, or is it an immediate decision that Disney made? That's the thing. We don't know how that went down,
Well, the other
which
thing
would
that
greatly affect the meaning of it.
hmm
the thing that kind of goes through my mind is just that Fox is obviously smaller than Disney, and for them, it's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt their turnouts because I think both the New Mutants and Deadpool 2, I think they have a much smaller audience. So I think those two movies competing against each other are definitely going to cut into profits.
Yeah, so it might have been
Yeah,
good to move them apart.
Yeah. Whereas Disney, I don't know what's going on with Disney, to be honest. But again, because Marvel Studios is sort of their own entity, Disney's their own entity, and of course they own the Star Wars universe now.
yeah,
And I guess maybe again the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and things are operating, or the
Yeah.
different studios are kind of working things out independently. So I wonder if that's the case over there.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
was thinking that because like I know at a lot of companies, like even like I've heard things about like Google, how like different teams of different people, like there's like
yeah.
no communication between them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very, very odd.
I mean, well, Disney distributes it all. That's what it is. Like there was that stuff with The Last Jedi where they were telling theaters like you have to keep it in theaters for 4 weeks at minimum.
Hmm.
That's it. Otherwise, you're like out. Like that was it. That's what they were doing. So it's clear that they have distribution like control over the Solo movie at least, probably over the Marvel stuff as well. But
Yeah.
how much of that do they control Fox now? Because that's the thing. Like Fox still owns. I don't know how much if they own anything of this stuff anymore, but they still own some properties. Disney didn't take everything. Like they own like some stuff like the news and all that, but I don't know if they kept anything in the deal with Disney, kind of like Sony did with Spider-Man, where it's like a joint thing. That's the thing as well. We don't
That's a yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, or like maybe
like I could be completely wrong, and we might know that, but I mean that's just my thought on it.
yeah, Fox could have like maybe like were like maybe they were about to make these changes and then they like put it
Yeah,
in the terms of their deal with Disney that like this still has to happen or something like that. I don't know. But
Because the
yeah.
exactly.
thing, because I also wanted to, because I thought I saw on Apple.com, that there were rumors that Disney might be getting their fingers into Deadpool a little bit because, again, Deadpool rated R property, very violent, well, kind of vulgar.
Mhm.
Nothing is,
More than kind of vulgar.
yeah, well, again, nothing is sacred to them. And now Disney may be getting their fingers into that a little bit to try to make it a little bit more palatable to the general audience. But for one thing, it won't be Deadpool anymore. But so that it makes me wonder, or it just raises the question: is Disney really getting into Fox's properties?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, and New Mutants as well. It's a very interesting thing because we got a full-on trailer for that, like straight up full-on trailer, a soundtrack in it, scenes, kind of told the story like, oh, it's them like maybe escaping this like this crazy asylum, like this freaking crazy asylum that they're stuck in, and now they're moving it way back and they're saying, oh, it's because of this, but it's like, could Disney be meddling with it a bit? Like, could that be it?
Yeah, that definitely could be it cuz they're moving it back a ton for it to be just
eight
like
months is a
not to
yeah,
crowd.
8 months is way back.
Yeah.
That's like
Now,
stuff they do when they're gonna get rid of a movie.
That's very true.
now, well, I hope they're not, because again, it looked like it was going to be kind of fun,
Mhm.
for me anyway. The other thing
Yeah,
that sort of made me wonder is now because Marvel Studios and Sony shared Spider-Man, and supposedly now with Disney's acquisition of Fox, they said that there's a rumor Wolverine may show up somewhere in the X-Men movie. Excuse me, in the Avengers universe.
which is completely possible.
Yeah, and Hugh Jackman said he'd be up for it if it wasn't this
I think
dark
he
and
said, I think he said he wouldn't do it now. I think recently
oh,
he came
okay,
out saying that.
Hmm.
but
Though I
but the,
know,
I'm sorry.
I know, I no, it's one of the actors came out saying like they would love to do a crossover of their character and Wolverine only if Hugh Jackman came back and did that movie with him. I think it might have been Chris Hemsworth saying he wanted
Yeah.
a Thor Wolverine movie.
But the thing is, what begs the question is now when they acquired Fox, does that automatically, or what legalities are in place where they can just borrow one character from one universe to just plop him into the other? So I almost wonder if if they thought that they were going to do that with Wolverine, what they might want to do with the New Mutants.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is something came out recently where some people were analyzing stuff from Infinity War, and they were like, "Oh, there's like hints of time travel," but then people started saying it was hints of an alternate universe, which I didn't really read into it, so I don't really know what they're doing, but like I know that the Infinity Stones can really mess with stuff. Like
Yes.
in the comic, Thanos just wipes out half the universe with a thought, essentially. He just like disappears it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that kind of stuff. And I'm like, if they wanted to integrate the X-Men into the MCU in the second Infinity War movie, you make something that messes with like universes or time or dimensions that combines the two somehow. And and like in the sense of like Earth 1 and Earth 2 combining and like or like just the Earths combining in Crisis on Infinite Earths where a bunch of people just came to different Earths, not knowing the history of each other's Earths, but being a part of them now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They could do something like that.
I think Disney could like integrate the two properties theoretically. I think my biggest hope is that they don't rush it because like you said, I think waiting till the second Infinity War movie and then like doing it in an event where it makes sense would be good. And also like
Yeah.
not just dumping necessarily all the characters, like maybe just adding like making only some appear at first and then
Yeah,
like
referencing they're
introducing them.
there and then showing them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because doing a huge movie like that it would be such a massive crossover. I don't know how that would work on a big screen or
Yeah. Well, I want to propose a question. If
sure.
they were to do this, what cast would we want to see? Younger cast or older cast appear in the MCU? If they kept casts, because they could completely recast if they want to. They could easily do that. It's their property now. They can legally do whatever they want with it. They own it.
Mhm.
They could decide to cancel the Phoenix stuff if they want to. They could do it. But would you want to see the younger cast or the older cast join the MCU? We already know that like Wolverine is not going to be Hugh Jackman. He says he doesn't want to come back. That could change if they give him a big enough paycheck,
Mhm.
but he says he doesn't want to do it anymore. He says Logan is the end, which is a reasonable end. But would
Yeah,
you want to? Which cast would you want to see?
that's a good question.
If it was without Hugh Jackman, I'd probably say the new cast because I'd like it to
Yeah,
be like a full cast, like not a recast at all or like not a
yeah,
mix of anything. Um I think like if they could get Hugh Jackman to come back, I think I would like the old cast, but I don't think that's very likely to happen. So I would still be happy with the new cast. I very much hope they do not recast though.
yeah. I think it would be interesting. I mean, it would kind of mess with the X-Men universe and make those movies kind of like unwatchable,
Hmm.
but it would be very interesting.
Then again
Yeah,
though,
it's
they're doing Solo, uh, which is a complete recast of Han Solo, so you never know.
Yeah,
yeah, it's tough to say though because the young cast didn't get much screen time, and it's we've had 3 or 4 movies with the old cast. So I'm more attached to the old cast, but I wouldn't mind seeing the new cast take over.
well, with the new cast, we have what? First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and then the Phoenix movie. I didn't see Apocalypse. I won't lie. I
Oh, I'm
haven't seen
sorry.
it. I didn't hear many good things about it from some people I know, so I didn't really look at it. I was just like, oh, he looks like Ivan Ooze. Okay, but and then we
Hmm.
have the Phoenix movie, which is gonna have them, and then there's gonna be a whole new cast with New Mutants that are gonna be around their age, which we don't know when that's taking place. I'm gonna assume in modern day, so they'd have to be younger than the newer cast.
I think the New Mutants could be a good opportunity to introduce the the X-Men universe to the MCU though, because like it's an all new cast, an all new concept, sort of.
Yeah,
And so I feel like it'd be really easy, especially since they postponed it for like uh, 8 months or
8 months.
whatever, many months.
Hmm.
uh, I think that would be a good opportunity for them.
I just wonder how the X-Men would fit into the MCU again because things are so huge now, and introducing a whole new team. I'm not
Yeah,
saying it's not possible. I just think it's a huge undertaking. Getting all the actors and
Hmm.
getting enough screen time for
yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
I
Definitely.
mean, I've always felt that one of the MCU's problems, and this is kind of ironic in saying this, is that they rush a lot of storylines. Like they take these storylines and they use them, and they don't have to be exactly like the comics. And I'm fine when they're not exactly like the comics. Sometimes they stumble and they fall, like Civil War, because that was not even an adaptation, just a bad movie in my opinion.
Hmm.
But they take these ideas and they try and implement them, but they don't really build the world enough. Like you have Spider-Man who's like street level, but then they're immediately throwing him to universe level, like to galactic level. That's insane for his character to just take that turn. Like that's such a 180.
Yeah, because it's like one movie, and then he's like not necessarily on the fighting level of everyone else, but
Yeah,
like he's on the level. Up like even Iron Man thinks he's on the level of everyone else because he offered him a spot on the team. So
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
I definitely
that has
agree
to
with
do with them
you there.
acquiring the rights when they did. But like
That's
there are other characters that
true.
they've done it with as well. Like I'd say Hawkeye, like he just kind of shows up and he's fighting world level events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So,
do you think
which
they
I mean
kind of
some characters do, but
push that because a lot of these movies, and let's face it, I think they've been looking almost past these movies to a certain point just to set up Infinity War.
oh yeah,
So
definitely.
so do you think that's why it was probably rushed?
It could have been. I mean, Infinity War is a set of movies that everyone's like, "Oh my God, we've been waiting 10 years. This is great." It's like when I saw the trailer, I was like, "Okay, that's kind of cool." Like, I didn't have any hype because the hype isn't really there. Like, you've just been showing me little snippets of Thanos, but you haven't shown me Thanos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've been hyping up an empty, oh, not an empty promise, but a promise that probably won't fulfill what most people want. And that's just how it is. I mean, it was the same with Justice League. Everyone wanted all this amazing stuff, and then they didn't deliver it all.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. I thought Age of Ultron was had such a good concept, but failed so miserably with it, and that seems to happen a lot when they bring the characters
Yes.
back together. Civil War didn't work for many reasons. Age of Ultron didn't work in a lot of ways, and it worries me for Infinity War because after Avengers, most team up movies in the MCU have not been good.
Yeah, I feel
Or
like
not good MCU movies at least.
I feel like Infinity War is a big opportunity for them to do something great, but also a big opportunity
Exactly.
for them to do what they generally do and either make it too generic or just not follow through enough with like everything that they do in the movie. And I feel like it might feel rushed. Although the fact that it does have two parts does give me a little bit of hope that they won't
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
throw it away like a lot of things they do, like in like a one movie and done kind of thing. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah, because the thing is too with Infinity War that gets me a little bit worried is I like so many of the cast members because we've had a huge
Hmm.
string of movies so far. What is it, 22 movies in the Marvel
Is it?
Cinematic Universe?
something like
Christ.
that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just getting everybody enough screen time, and you're also throwing Guardians of the Galaxy in there, and that's what makes me wonder. Um, Sometimes to me it's better to have a smaller story and just have it be good than to try to do like the best and the ultimate of everything and then
Hmm.
yeah, you just can't get enough in.
Yeah, because there's
It's
So,
like
like
there's so many characters.
oh yeah.
It's gonna be
I mean,
crazy.
yeah, it's gonna need two movies for something like this. Or like honestly, if you ask me, a lot of people think the general public won't sit through a long movie. I think they easily could have made the full thing into like a 4 hour movie and people would have sat through it. As long
Hmm.
as there was like an intermission, I think people would have sat through it.
Yeah, like Titanic.
Exactly. Like if you have something that people are as invested into as this, I mean, people may not find the time in their day, but you will find people making time in their day to go see it. That's just how it is. But
Yeah,
if you were to do that, I feel like make it probably would make the story more coherent. In all honesty, because having two separate movies, it, it like they always say, oh, it starts off immediately where the last one left off, and they're shooting these back to back. But I feel like something odd is going to happen in between those two movies, even with the same directors, same cast, same writers. I feel like something odd is going to happen between those two movies.
yeah.
But that's just me.
I think it definitely would have been interesting to see them try something like a 4 hour movie with an intermission or something.
I
I
mean,
think
look
it
at
would
Black
be
Panther right now.
yeah.
Look at how long you're saying that movie is.
I think it would benefit Disney and Marvel to take more risks in their films because I know like a huge complaint of the MCU is that like it's too formulaic, which I agree to an extent. I definitely see it, and I feel like if they did something like that, something more experimental, a little bit more risky, I think it could really pay off for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that a lot of the MCU movies they tend to be formulaic just because they're trying to put together the whole Infinity Gauntlet.
Hmm.
They're going after when the Infinity Stones in almost every movie. Not every movie, but almost every movie.
Hmm.
But again, this is probably a stupid question, but what do you guys think is of? Because you know you talked about having a 4-hour movie,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't be opposed to. But what do you think is going to happen to the public at large? Like we all sound reasonably smart here. We're all kind of geeky, so we're going to remember we're all going to remember the last movie. But what happens when they set this thing up? You know, a are the movies going to be like a year apart? How is
They're
the general?
exactly a year apart to the day,
Yeah,
I believe. A
I
day or
wonder how
two.
that's. I just wonder how that's going to fly with the general public.
I don't
And
think it will. Like,
yeah,
Yeah, like
I
I wonder if we're gonna see like a decrease in the amount of people that's like the overall like money that the first Infinity War movie gets and the second one, because I feel like more people who like even if they haven't seen Marvel movies might go see Infinity War because like it's just been like really
yeah.
crazy in the news and stuff. Um, but yeah, and I also feel like they might end it on a cliffhanger to get more people to see the second one. I hope they
Or
oh
a
yeah,
don't,
shocking death.
but I feel like they probably would. I feel like that'd be very like them.
I
yeah,
mean,
because it's tough to if they just have like a huge battle and then the next movie is going to pick up literally in the next scene of in other words if this is like one huge movie split into two having them a year apart I just I think there's going to have to be some time within the context of the story between the first half and the second half.
well, supposedly they're shooting it back to back. Like the moment they stopped
Okay.
shooting one, they started shooting two. Like that's supposedly what happened is that they didn't even like cut. Like they just kept going. That's
Hmm.
supposedly how they're shooting it. But my whole thing with it is this. They're splitting it up into two movies, which will make these two movies unwatchable separately. Because if they're shooting it like that, they are going to be unwatchable separately, and that's going to be a problem. At least in like Last Jedi, which supposedly takes place like 2 seconds after, or just a few minutes after Starkiller Base blows up, which it feels like more time passes. Let's be real.
Hmm.
They still like recap some of the stuff that happened in the last movie,
Yeah,
but
you
they're
have the crawl. Yeah.
I and but you have a movie where they're literally shooting it back to back, which they're essentially just splitting the script up in the two movies and shooting it all as one. You're gonna have this weird thing where it's like, are they gonna explain it? If they do, how are they going to? Is the first 5 minutes gonna be exposition? Like, it's not. It's either gonna be a terribly underinformed second part or a terribly like exposition filled first 15 minutes. Like that's how it's going to be. It's either going to drag or it's going to like feel like there's too little, and that's a
Yeah,
problem.
I
I don't think
definitely
there's any
agree.
sweet spot there.
No matter what they do, it's gonna be weird because, like you said, if they pick it up literally right where it leaves off, you can't wait a year in between and
Yeah,
expect like the same
it to
intensity and
feel right.
everything to be there. It's too foggy, it's too weird. But like also if they add time in between, it's also still awkward because like that's like they claim that they've been doing it back to back like you said and so yeah, either way, I feel like it's gonna be weird. I feel like they could have made it one giant movie, or or just not try and make it back to back. Although I don't really see, because I wonder if, because again, if it's a cliffhanger, or if they just end literally in the middle of the plot or whatever, then they can pick it
They're
right
probably going to
off.
end in the middle of the plot. Like,
Yeah,
sadly, that's probably what they're going to do.
so like I don't know. I don't know how they should have done it. It's a really weird thing.
To me, the
Yeah,
only to me the only thing that kind of makes sense is in the beginning of the first movie you have the whole build up. Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet. You get to know who Thanos is. Then you have the build up where I think maybe you get to see how powerful Thanos is. Maybe some of the heroes get their butts handed to them.
I mean, we see that in the trailer.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
then I just wonder if you see some of the heroes in the movie, I don't want to say cowering, but sort of licking their wounds and saying, "Damn, we can't take this guy." And then maybe in the second half you see the actual team up and you get to see Thanos get taken down. Again, I just wonder if the first half of the first movie is probably just going to end on that downer where you
Hmm.
just see Thanos seeming like he's unbeatable until the heroes kind of come together.
I
I
wonder
mean,
if the end of the first movie will end on a character death.
Oh
that's what I'm
yeah,
thinking. My long running theory has always been that Tony Stark is going to die in Infinity War. Like I have thought that for years now because his character arc is done. Like
Hmm.
as a character, he has nowhere else to go. Natasha still has room to grow. Clint still has room to grow. Like they have all these different things that they have set up for characters for them to grow and like evolve, but Tony Stark has literally nowhere to go as a character.
Yeah,
They've
Quicksilver still
essentially
has
like
room to grow.
yeah,
well, I mean,
but
personally, I'd love to see another Iron Man movie. I just
it'd
like
be
the
great.
character.
I mean,
However, well, I'm sorry, I just don't think that excuse me, Tony Stark. I just don't think Robert Downey Jr. He also doesn't like to stay in a role for too long.
yeah,
Hmm.
And I
And
think he's already mentioned that. Yeah, the same thing that you guys said, that the character doesn't have room to grow. He's done everything there is to do, unless they offered him a big enough paycheck.
yeah, honestly, if they like, this is a really weird way to think about it, but if they killed off Tony Stark, which I'm not sure if I would want them to or not. But they definitely have a lot more of their budget to spend on other people or other things because like
Yes.
yeah.
he's paid an insane amount.
And you could
Uh,
have Rhodey step up. Like they have done literally nothing with that character
That's
except
very
make him a
true.
joke. Like the perfect Iron Man 3 to me shouldn't have had the Mandarin as the main villain. Like it shouldn't have had any of those characters as the main villain. The movie's real villain, you could have had like a superhero villain like coming after him, like a super villain doing all this stuff. The real villain of Iron Man 3 should have been alcohol. He should have returned to alcoholism in that movie. They should have gone darker with that movie than they did, in the sense that they should have explored Tony's character more. Like they explore the PTSD, but like a major part of Tony Stark's character has always been he's an alcoholic, and they show hints of it in Iron Man.
Hmm.
Like they literally showed in Iron Man
yeah.
2, but then it's just gone when it should become a major thing. Like Tony Stark doesn't know how to handle that stuff. He should have retreated to the bottle for Iron Man 3 for the PTSD. Iron Man 3 should have been Demon in the Bottle. You should have had Rhodey step up. You should have had him trying to figure all this stuff out, like, and him eventually coming to help Rhodey and getting over his alcoholism because he realizes he needs to get over it for the better of everyone else. He can't just focus on himself. He can't be selfish, which is what he learns in that movie, but in terrible ways constantly.
Yeah.
Hmm. That would have been
Although I don't know
interesting
if
to
I'd.
see because it would have been more of like not totally, but it would have been more of like a drama and less of an action
Yeah,
superhero movie, which I'd also like to see just like more of genre films in the MCU and not everything just be like a superhero movie.
exactly. Like an Agent Carter movie would be great as a film noir.
Mm-hmm. Because they go like they dip their feet into genres, but they never really
Yeah,
go like full in. They're always like still a superhero movie first, and whatever they're trying to do second.
yeah.
That really would have been fun, an Agent Carter movie, and I think it would have been a nice little niche movie too,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
without having to be a huge tentpole summer blockbuster.
Because it wouldn't have needed as big of a budget either, so it wouldn't necessarily need to make as much money as the huge MCU movies we've gotten so far. And like,
And I think that would have drawn a different crowd and maybe
Yeah.
drawn even more people into the into the Marvel universe, or made fans. I don't know, but I think it would have been interesting at the very least.
If there's one thing I can give DC over Marvel, it's that they're willing to take risks way more than Marvel. Like everyone's
oh
like, "Oh my
yeah,
God, Guardians of the Galaxy is such a risk." It's like, but they were already like 7 years into the franchise. It was
mm-hmm.
not a risk. They would have lost no money on that movie because they put essentially no money into it in a sense. Like
Yeah,
they put a lot of money, but like not as much compared to some of the others. It was definitely not something they were expect to be as much of a hit as it was. Same with Thor Ragnarok. Like that was a movie that they put a lot of like stuff into, but I don't think they invested as much into it as others. They really put the trust into the actors and the director and the cast. They
Yes.
really like it. They just kind of let them be, and that was like the riskiest thing they've done in a while. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 took no risks compared to the first one. It was an awful movie in my opinion compared to the first one. I did not like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I may be in the minority for saying that, but I thought it was not good compared to the first.
I still like it, but like I definitely agree that like it was
It was a
still a
setup
very,
movie.
very safe movie. Um,
It was very much a setup movie. And they set up
mhm,
very, like, risky things. They set up a Ravagers movie, which
Yes.
mhm,
is literally just the original Guardians of the Galaxy calling themselves the Ravagers.
yeah.
And they set up Adam Warlock. They set up an Infinity Watch movie, possibly. Those are two things that are very interesting. And Miss Marvel is going to be a risky movie for sure. I think that's the biggest risk they're going to take because it's
Mhm.
being set like way back. They're doing it with who are they doing it with? The Kree, right? They're doing the Kree story, correct?
I
Or are they
believe
doing
so.
Skrulls?
That's what I
Or
read.
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
that's what, yeah.
Yeah, and they're gonna have Captain Marvel. They're gonna have Marvel in it as well. They're taking a lot of risks with that movie as well. With Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they set up the risks, but with Miss Marvel, they're actually doing the risks, which they haven't done in a while, I'd say.
Mhm.
I
They
Yeah, I
just
haven't
hope.
definitely.
introduced new characters in a while.
My only
Yeah.
hope is just that my only fear is just that with some of these secondary movies coming up, like a Captain Marvel movie, if you have one or two flops, what's going to happen? Because again, Iron Man has made a name for himself, where or Captain America, people are going to go see those movies, and I just wonder if some of these like second tier characters getting their own movies, I'll go see them, and if I like it, I like it. But I
Well,
wonder.
Marvel's the selling name now. That's what it is. Anyone will go see anything Marvel.
Yeah, again, I just want to see the genre continue and do well as long as they're putting out quality stuff. That is.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
That is an
again,
interesting point though. Like what if like Captain Marvel doesn't do quite as good as all their other movies and they just take that as, oh, we shouldn't take as many risks and they just keep playing it safe, which
yeah,
honestly financially would probably keep working for them for a while. I just really hope they don't do that and like they do take more risks because at the very least, after Infinity War, there will definitely be tons of room to take tons of risks
yes.
because hopefully it should be
They've
like
opened up the
rebuilding a
galaxy.
universe.
Yeah. I'm,
Now I know this is one of the other topics that you guys talked about to potentially mentioning later on, but look at
Hmm.
the record that Black Panther broke as far as the
yeah.
free ticket.
Yeah, they
So
broke
and
pre-sale
he's
ticket
yeah
prices.
he's definitely a second tier character.
Oh yeah.
Nowadays, anyways, they don't
Yeah.
push him that much really anymore.
Hmm.
It seems like
But
the public is really getting really hyped for it though. It seems like it's still gonna like he might become a top tier character
yeah,
depending
he
on
might. Yeah,
how many
depending
people
on how the
show up.
movie goes. I mean, I think the movie's going to do well. My only problem with this movie is that it's going back to the formula of, oh, he fights an evil version of himself. Like,
Oh
yes,
yeah, I totally don't
Killmonger
like that.
Killmonger looks to be an interesting villain, but I would rather have had Claw as the main villain because it kind of would have tied the
Yes.
universe more together. I mean, Claw's going to be there. He's going to be doing stuff. He has his mechanical hand and all that, but he's not the
Hmm.
main villain.
Yeah.
It like I mean everyone's like, oh, Killmonger's from Harlem, right? That's what I've heard. I'm not sure on that. I
I'm
haven't
not
read a lot
sure
of Black
either.
Panther. That's what I've heard. So a lot of people are like, oh, maybe they'll tie in Luke Cage somehow. It's like, but they won't. The problem with Marvel
No.
is, and this is why they're not. And would be the riskiest thing yet safest thing they could do. Risky to them, but safe to everyone else. Is combining everything, making Agents of Shield, the Netflix shows, and the movies all in the same thing because they constantly say, look at them like they're in like different worlds, but they affect each other. It's like, but you can't do that. We know
Yeah.
they're in the same universe. We know they've all interacted. If they introduced Coulson back in one of the Avengers movies, it would if he came back in Avengers Infinity War, it would be something else. And
That would be
but
awesome.
it would
That
be awesome, but from a storytelling standpoint, it would be terrible to do because he's the reason they are the Avengers, is because his death. They would have
That
to
is,
reveal
yeah.
Shield is still a thing, but not reveal uh who the boss of it is. They'd have to keep Coulson a secret. That's what they would have to do.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
could have Daredevil, you could have Punisher, you could have all these people brought into the MCU and do great things with. You could
Yeah, I
do
really,
street level movies and they would work because everyone loves the Daredevil series. Punisher was amazing. Like you could do so much with some of these. Defenders could have been better as a movie. Not gonna lie, a Netflix exclusive movie probably could have done that show a lot better than the show actually did.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the movies really need to acknowledge the TV series a lot more, or at least like Marvel could literally just be like could announce that like, hey, these are now in the same universe, like no, none of the weird like sort of stuff. Like they're canon, they're in the same universe, and I feel like even that would like be a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, I think now with because there's all these characters that people want introduced. People want like Moon Knight and all that. You do a
Hmm.
West Coast Avengers movie, like a low budget West Coast Avengers movie. And you test it out, see where it goes.
Yeah.
After Avengers Infinity War, you could have all these new heroes pop up because of what happened. Like it was their call to arms essentially because they realized there are bigger threats out there beyond Loki and all that. Like you could do
Yeah.
a West Coast Avengers movie. And you could move Iron Man over there because he has no story with these Avengers anymore.
That would be really good. There's so many opportunities for them to do. They just play everything so safe.
Well, yeah. It's again. I just wonder where they're going to go after this.
Yeah.
If we're
Hmm.
still going to see, I doubt we're going to see any more Iron Man. I could be wrong unless Robert Downey Jr. changes his mind.
Yeah.
I know Chris Evans said that or I keep hearing he doesn't want to be Captain America anymore, which makes me kind of sad because I thought he made a great Captain America. But I mean, I know you could go do the whole, Bucky,
Bucky.
yeah, becomes Captain. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I just wonder taking some of those or making some of those changes, how they would go with, or how that would fly with the general public too.
Yeah, I
Because
think
World Palmer,
after
yeah,
sorry. I think after Infinity War, they have a real opportunity to either have new or existing characters take up the mantles, or just have new characters rise
Yeah.
up, or even a mix of the two could totally work. But I just hope they like introduce a lot more stuff after Infinity War, and like they get less formulaic, and hopefully they're not planning on starting to set anything up like they did from the beginning of the universe for Avengers. Uh, like hopefully they're not trying to set anything up at least immediately after Infinity War, because I want to see what the Marvel universe and Marvel movies will look like when they're not just solely there to get
Yeah.
hype and set up a big storyline.
And we have these other shows as well. Like Runaways takes place in the MCU, if I'm correct. Then we have that show coming out. I can't remember which one it is, but it has Squirrel Girl in it, like the live action TV show they're doing with
oh
the
Yeah,
yes,
was
yes.
it AT&T girl or whatever, or not AT&T. I don't know which one,
I think
but
it is the AT&T girl.
is it? I don't know.
I'm not
But like she's
positive.
playing Squirrel Girl, like that's gonna be a thing they're doing. Like they're doing all these
Hmm.
interesting things, but we don't know if they're connecting. And they're introducing all
Yeah.
these characters, but no one's but my biggest concern of all with Infinity War, biggest concern of all, the movie could be god awful or it could be amazing, but if they kill Thanos, it's gonna be awful
Yeah.
That's very true. Because
because they cut themselves off.
they're so bad at villains. Like that's one of the worst parts of the MCU. They don't know how to make a good villain. And like even Thanos, like we've gotten some build up that like is supposed to build tension and kind of has been, and like they seem like they're going to treat his power with at least some respect to like how huge his like power is and his abilities are. Um I think yeah, though like they need to really explain his some of his backstory at least, give him some sort of
They haven't
motivation. Like I know
introduced
he's
enough
just
stuff
a
to.
guy. Yeah.
They
Like I
haven't
wish
like
sorry. I
hmm?
wish they
No.
would like just explain more about him, because like they've had so much opportunity to set him up in a meaningful way, and all they've done has been like, "Hey, doesn't this look cool?" Which
Yeah.
is fun to an extent, but it would be so much cooler if they were like, look at what's happening with him, and like how this is going to affect everyone else. Like if we actually got some sort of hints to his character and stuff, because with Thanos they really have an opportunity to redeem themselves with villains, because obviously Black Panther isn't going to do anything revolutionary with their villains, which is fine. Like I still think it's going to be a good movie, but they have such a big opportunity with Thanos to do something right with a villain, and if they kill him, I feel like it'll just it'll just continue the trend of bad
Yeah.
villains.
I mean, they haven't introduced enough of the concepts involving Thanos' backstory to do it. Like, they haven't introduced death into the universe. They haven't
Yeah,
introduced her in, which is one of the major problems, is that what is his motivation going to be? Is he just going to be like one of those things where, like, where there's power, I challenge it? Like, what is it
yeah,
exactly? And that's the
I,
problem.
I think the only tease we got of death was just at the end of Avengers when you got the little snippet or that little teaser with Thanos where you just sort of see him grin, where you just see one of Thanos's underlings say to challenge the humans would be to court death. And I
Yeah.
think I think that was
hmm
just maybe a little tease or just a nod to the fans.
I mean, there's a picture of her like etched into either like the background of Guardians of the Galaxy, like where
Yeah,
one of the Infinity Stones is. I don't remember. Someone was like, "Oh my God, look at this! It's like death, agony, and all this stuff." It's like, but there were so
yeah,
many. Even you know what? Even if they want to, I would have kind of hated it at first, but at this point, I would have been totally fine with it if they'd introduced Hela with her being the goddess of death, that she was the one that Thanos was fanning over. Like, I wouldn't have liked it at first because they're two completely separate people, but in the end, I would have been like, "All right, that's reasonable enough. Like that's a reason enough for him to attack them because Thor literally like murdered her in a sense, or
hmm
got her
Like
like killed, or
it would have
possibly
been a
killed.
really weird concept, and I don't know if I would have liked it at first either. But like, it would have
Yeah,
set up
but if they
like
use it as his motivation,
even if she was still like essentially the same character, and also like she just happened to be like the like death as well, um, like it would have been fine because like she would have been like on par with the rest of their villains so far, but she would have
yeah,
had a purpose to set up Thanos in such a better way.
because that's what they're doing is setting up Thanos, but they're not setting up Thanos.
hmm They're not setting up his character; they're just setting up like the hype for him.
He's gonna be a jabroni. I'm telling you, he's gonna be a jobber. That's what he's gonna be. He's just gonna get
I,
wrecked.
I I hope not.
Oh
I
no,
really hope
second
not
that
too.
second movie, I bet you in that second movie they turn him into a jobber. I bet you the back half of the second movie is them going to be just kicking, like kicking his butt constantly. Like near the end, they're gonna find
hmm
something that lets them do it. Like, you know,
Yeah. Man,
in his
I
butt.
really hope they don't kill Thanos in either of the movies, but also they're like almost definitely going to.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I just sort of feel this is just my gut reaction, especially for storytelling purposes, that first movie I just think is going to end on a bit of a downer. You see the heroes kind of retreating or scattered, or they just don't know what to do. Again, not that doesn't even have to. That's not even me saying anything about the Infinity Stones that he has, what he can do with them.
hmm
Um, because the other rumor that's out there, and I hope it's just a rumor, is just that with the Infinity Stones, it may give them cause to reboot the Marvel Universe.
God,
Oh
that would
yeah,
be
I have
awful. After
seen
10
rumors
years
of
of this
that.
Yeah,
investment, I
That
think
would
I'd
be
actually
exactly.
throw
terrible.
the movies out.
Which because the thing is what they're saying is because they might not be able to get a lot of these actors back because either they're going to want more money, do different things, whatever. That being said, that's what one of the rumors is, and I just hope not.
It
Yeah,
would
I hope not
actually just be
too.
like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
It would be a literal slap in the face. I think I would throw my MCU movies like just in a bin somewhere and not look at them because it'd be like these are the redheaded stepchild now.
I doubt they would do that though, just because they have like such a safe like cash cow essentially for them right now, and like obviously they're gonna have to change something and do something different after Infinity War, but I think that would be like a pretty big risk for them, and I don't think they would take that risk.
They
Yeah.
I
like
hope not.
Well, because we still there's still more potentially Doctor Strange movies to make. Black Panthers. I know there's a Guardians 3 on the horizon somewhere. I forget what the slate looks like. So there are other movies to make. I just haven't seen any of the big guns like another Captain America movie or another Iron Man movie or something like that. I
hmm
supposedly they keep saying that there will be more standalone Avengers movies. So I don't
Mm,
know what direction those are going to take.
Hmm.
Again, these are just things I've read on Ain't It Cool news.
I mean, they've set up a new team. Like they've done it. They have set up. They literally set up the West Coast Avengers. Like at the end of
Yeah.
Age of Ultron, they literally set it up. And I'm just like, so you're not gonna do it? You're gonna tease me like that? You're gonna have Scarlet Witch, Vision, Hawkeye. Falcon's not on that team, but he's there. War Machine. Like you're gonna give me the West Coast Avengers and just make them all secondary characters. Okay.
Yeah, because they're all just gonna be in Infinity War together, like with all
And
the characters.
what's gonna happen to Vision is the question. Like, is he just gonna die? Is he gonna be like,
Hmm.
I'm a human now? Like, I'm a real boy.
I
I
just,
feel like
yeah.
I feel like he'd have to die. I wonder if they could use him almost like as a false death in the first movie, and then like bring him back in
Uh,
the second movie,
that
like
would
get
be
the stone back.
actually kind of awful. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
I think that would be awful, but I also think that could be something that they do.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to
Yeah.
say anything, but I almost kind of feel like he has to go because for the only reason he's quote unquote alive is because of that Infinity Stone that's in his head.
Hmm. And it's
So
definitely gonna get ripped out. So like
yeah,
he,
exactly. Otherwise, you're not going to have the whole Infinity Gauntlet.
yeah, I feel like he should die, but like I don't know if Marvel will do that or not. I hope they do. I mean,
They
obviously, like
never kill actual characters off except for villains.
yeah. So
So, except for like Odin, but that's about it.
that would be very disappointing if they bring him back in the second movie.
No, no, I almost wonder, and God, oh, maybe I shouldn't even say anything because watch, in a few years ago, we'll be saying Mike was right, that jerk. He spoiled it. No, I almost wonder, I don't know if you remember, there was a line in Civil War where he talked about controlling the stone more. He doesn't know how it works. He doesn't know what it
Uh,
does, and it
Yeah.
controls. That was a conversation he had with Scarlet Witch. I almost wonder if somehow his quote unquote soul or programming or whatever is going to be in that stone. And then when Thanos
Ooh.
has it, somehow he uses that they can use that against him.
no, please don't. Please
I
don't.
I
hope.
hope
Yeah.
not. That's
Don't
I
just too
hope not.
cheesy.
insinuate that. Guys, the
But
technology in the Infinity Gauntlet can be hacked into by Jarvis. I
yeah.
would
Or, or
actually
or even if somehow his essence manages to
I
take
would get
over
up
the
and walk
gauntlet. I
out.
don't know.
I would
Again.
get up and walk out. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I'd
Again. I
like give
would.
up my money there.
I would very much not like that, but that also sounds like something Marvel might do.
Well, the thing is, I think the whole idea behind Thanos, at least in the comics, during Infinity War, was you had a villain that was so powerful that he couldn't be beat by the heroes, and only by pure fortune, when he disembodied his against 20-year-old spoilers, people, or it may not be 20 years old. Um, but
No,
when
it's at least 20 years old.
yeah, but it's just when his spirit comes out of his body or something like that, or I forgot how to explain it. He basically transcends physical form, and his
Hmm.
physical form is still in a chair while he's becoming this omnipotent being. Then you have somebody basically, it was Nebula, take the gauntlet
Yeah,
and put
which
it
I
and set
hope they
everything
do
straight.
something with her in the movie.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
she's such a tortured soul, and the way she left, I'd love to see her come back. But I don't know how that would fly with the general audience in the big screen, and
Yeah.
I almost think that they're going to pull a Watchmen and do something different in the comics.
I mean, what is it with this movie? Like, there's so many great moments that they can have with these characters that I hope they don't always take from the comics, but when they do, it's usually something good. Like
Yeah.
the scene with Spider-Man lifting up the pillars and stuff while he's
Hmm.
trapped. Like, there's one scene I want to see in Infinity War that they take from the comics, and that is Captain America standing up to Thanos. Like, Thanos shatters his shield, and he just keeps
Hmm.
staring him down, and he's like, "I won't back down from you." Like,
Yeah.
we need a moment like that in the movie. Like, I made a video a while back on my channel describing how, like, because I don't want Tony to die, but like, I kind of want Tony to die because his character isn't going anywhere. Is you have
Hmm.
that scene and you set it up, and Thanos goes for the kill and Tony takes the hit for him. Like that would be perfect because it would be a culmination of Tony realizes like he messed up all this time, he did it all wrong. Cap came to save him, so the least he could do is save Cap in the end. Like it would be a great send off for his character. It would seal it, and the deal would be done essentially. He would no longer be a selfish character because Age of Ultron made him a selfish character again, That is
Hmm.
just how it is.
And
Hmm.
he still kind of looked like a bit of a jerk in Civil War.
Yeah, and Homecoming, he was kind of a jerk as well, but also a father figure. But I think that was a matter of just how the perspective was of the characters that made it seem that way.
Yeah. He did seem a little bit like a jerk though in that movie, just because a lot of the time with Spider-Man, like he acted like he didn't have the time for him. But then at the end, like we saw it sort of come
Yeah,
together. But
yeah, it's just we'll have to see. There's so much that they can do with Infinity War that they probably won't do.
Hmm. Well, again, I'm
I
sorry.
feel like in Infinity War it'll be a little awkward with people like Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye, just because like their powers are so like I like them. I like both of them as
Scarlet
characters.
Witch has the power to fight Thanos easily.
Does she?
She easily could. I assume by this point she'll have at least mastered her like it's not magic in this. I can't remember what her powers are in the comics. It's
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not magic. It's like psionic abilities they made it in the movies. I feel like she'll have
Oh,
mastered them better.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I don't know why I
hopefully
totally
she'll like
forgot
put
about
up a
that.
better fight.
Well,
And
at one
yeah,
point in the comics, not to get completely too nerdy, but she actually went and reset the whole universe.
yeah, I remember that.
Hmm.
Yep.
That's when they had the one moment in time storyline with Spider-Man where he kind of came out and said to the world, "Hey, I'm Spider-Man,"
Yep.
and then ruined his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I I think with some of the characters that there's definitely going to be like a power imbalance. And but that was they really kind of took care of that in Infinity War though because you had like or in Infinity Gauntlet the comic because you had Thanos like just wipe out half the universe, like not wipe them out, but like just disappear them off the face of the universe, like just move them, and it took half the heroes with it, and most of them were weaker heroes because in when it came down to it, you had like Thor, Captain America, and even Doom fighting fighting Thanos. Like
Hmm.
you had the big players, you had the power hitters and the big players. You didn't really have like Hawkeye and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle these characters because we see that there's a fight in Wakanda. There is very much a fight in Wakanda and we're like, well, how's that gonna get there? Why is he attacking Wakanda? Is he gonna like go after vibranium? Like, is that what's happening? Are the heroes gonna have to stay there and defend it? Like, because we don't really see any of the big power players in Wakanda, do we? I mean, we see the Hulkbuster armor, but like not there. You get what I mean? Like in that scene where they're clashing, I don't think they're there. I think it's
Yeah.
like Cap, Falcon, Hawkeye, Black Panther, and Bucky. I don't think there's anyone else really big there, is there? I think Vision might have been there, but it's been a while since I've seen that trailer.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing many or any really big people there.
It was a lot of the weaker heroes, not like weak, but like weaker. Like Cap's a weaker hero compared to some of the others.
Hmm. Although I
So
feel like they'll still treat him in the movie as one of the more powerful ones, just because
yeah,
like
Oh
his
yeah,
of
importance
course,
level is
he's
on a
him.
tier with them. So I feel like
I,
they'll
I,
treat him as like an equal in terms of power, even though like he really shouldn't be.
He'll hijack the Thanos copter.
I just sort of hope that we don't see Black Widow and Hawkeye and Spider-Man in space. To me, I just think from where Spider-Man was being very low level and pedestrian to seeing him in space, I just think that's too much of a jump.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
just sort of hope that we get to see some of these characters maybe either fighting a little bit on Earth or just doing damage control, trying to save some people, something along those
Hmm.
lines.
I think that
Is
would be a
again
very
that's
good idea. Yeah, for like the heroes like Hawkeye and Black Widow, like dealing with what seems to be smaller issues, but are still like basically just important, like having to deal with
Yeah.
trying to protect everyday people because ultimately that's what they're trying to do by fighting Thanos, but also like someone needs to protect them.
because also there's nothing to say that a lot of this movie is even going to be set in space like the original comic
Hmm.
because again I don't know how close they're going to stay to the storyline from the comics because I think Marvel Studios has been more open to straying away from that. Um, so for all we know, most of this may just take place right here on Earth, and maybe that's even where the Guardians of the Galaxy come into it. Again, I don't know. It's just from
Hmm.
what I see in the previews, you just see Thanos here on Earth, and like you said, you see Wakanda.
I mean, but he
Um,
transports himself there using that like giant circle in the sky.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it'll be interesting.
So
Yeah.
it's curious to see how Thor and the Guardians are gonna fit into this whole storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's coming out May 4th. May the 4th, yes. May the
Yeah,
4th be
that's
with you.
I feel like that's really weird that they're releasing it on Star Wars Day. I'm
And
wondering if
not
like
Solo.
yeah, like I almost wonder if like somehow the team that decided that no one realized it, or if they just like don't think Star Wars Day is that big of a deal. I don't know,
I
cause like I
don't
feel
know.
like that's a weird thing to do, cause like obviously it's under the same company, so it's not like they're competing, but in a way they sort of are, cause like a lot of
Haven't they had
people.
this date, though, since before, like, they acquired Star Wars?
I'm not sure. They might have.
They made these dates forever ago. I can't remember how many years ago at this point.
I just almost wonder again if I'm kind of thankful for this because I think Disney, what they've done is sort of thrown a lot of money at Marvel and said, "Hey, here you go, make the movies you want to make." But
Hmm.
I think that they've sort of kept their mitts and fingers out of it and sort of let them do their own thing, to the point where I think they're almost operating independently. So
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
wonder if that's why you sort of have these two things sort of going against two movies sort of going against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
They're
wonder if.
releasing a lot, though, within 3 weeks of each other.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. 3 4 weeks. Because we have what order is it? Is it
Avengers Infinity War is May 4th, Deadpool 2 is May 18th, and Solo a Star Wars story is May 25th. So that's
all
like
right?
bam bam bam.
We we talked a bit
Yeah.
about Deadpool 2. We talked about Infinity War. What about Solo though? Does anyone have any opinions on Solo
I'm
in
very
this sense?
excited. I'm also
I'm
very
not.
cautiously excited because I feel like they can do a lot with it, and I just hope they don't mess it up too much. Like I hope they don't, cause like I always love to see like films, especially bigger like company ones, take risks, but also like when it's
Is
a
this really a risk
prequel and the
though?
backstory of a character as iconic as Han Solo, I don't think you should take too many risks at the very least in the storyline. Like I feel like they should keep
Yeah.
the story like not make it uninteresting, but not do anything too crazy for the character and just focus more on like
Well, they're
making the
doing the
film more
Kessel Run in the
interesting.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Have you seen the Lego set that came out that was going around? The
Yeah.
Lego, which fine, Millennium Falcon, that movie's gonna look god awful if it's that Lego design. Jesus, it like it's such a nitpick thing, but when you take something as iconic as Millennium Falcon and you change it in the slightest ways, people notice and it really bothers them because they got rid of the two-prong front. They made it like a single stub on the front, and it just looks weird.
Hmm.
So, uh, I don't know why they did it. I don't know who got paid to do that, but hey, all I know is this: I'm not that excited for it. I would have preferred a Boba Fett movie done in the style of a heist, because that would have been good. If you had him doing a heist, you could have done a younger Boba Fett movie, and people would have loved it because of him in Clone Wars.
Oh yeah. I
It, it,
remember.
it, you could have done it with him, Bosk, like that one chick who uses like the snake slinkies on her arms,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
like Aura Singh and Dengar, and you could have had an amazing team doing a great heist movie.
Yeah. I remember hearing one of the cast members, I forget his name, saying that he feels like the that Solo is more of like a almost like a gangster movie, which I think could be very interesting. Uh
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going around right now that the script for Solo isn't good. Like there are rumors circulating right now that
yeah.
internally they are not liking how it's going.
I also saw rumors that like the actor uh is just like not doing well at all in the role,
Yeah, that he's just yeah.
which I don't know like
So
I don't know the source of those rumors or how valid they are at all, but that does not give me confidence in the movie.
yeah, because let's look at it. A lot of the time nowadays, when we see something as rumors, it tends to end up being true. Usually, like I'd say, like 80% of the time, they end up being true.
Mhm.
So that's the problem right there.
Yeah.
Is it going that way?
I'm excited for what it could be, but I'm very worried for like what it might be.
They
Um,
should just start adapting the comics in the movies for Star Wars. Vader
Honestly,
Down
that would be
should get a
fine
movie
because
because
like
Vader Down as a movie would be amazing.
definitely most of the Star Wars fans that see the movies, or like just most of the general public that sees the movies, hasn't seen the comic or hasn't read the comics, and even the people that do, like, it's still cool, obviously, to see it adapted into a film.
Exactly. I,
Well, well, the
mm,
thing is too. I think you hit a really good point there, saying Darth Vader. It's a movie kind of focusing on Darth Vader more. Um, I just remember the pop that Vader got at the end of Rogue One.
yeah, and everyone loved it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and now you could really get to see this guy be a badass. Um, where we really didn't have a chance to see much of that
I
before.
mean, have any of you ever read the Vader Down storyline from the first volume of the new Vader comic?
No.
I have
It
not
is
gotten a
a
chance to.
story where he so essentially the story starts with the rebel fleet doing practice runs on this planet where no one should be able to find them. What does Darth Vader do? He shows up. What does Darth Vader do? He wipes out the rebel fleet in space. The only way that they stop him is by Luke literally ramming his X-wing into him and they both crashing on the planet where the supposed first Jedi temple is, which they're both
Hmm.
searching for. So you have Vader land on the planet, and the only reason I want the movie adapted is so I can get this scene. Is the rebel fleet is surrounding him, and they go, "Drop your weapon, like you're surrounded." And he goes, "I'm surrounded by nothing but fear and dead men." And he ignites his lightsaber. Then it cuts to everyone being dead and him walking away. Like that's
Yeah.
essentially like what the story is. It's the rebel fleet. The first like few beats of the story are the rebel fleet trying to stop him, them failing. Then it's essentially him and Luke hunting each other down, him working with like I think Afra and like the the black haired Wookiee are in it, and they're like going up against Han and Chewie and stuff. So you have all these different beats going on throughout it that use basically every main cast character that's around at the time, as well as the side ones that are in the books. And it works really well, and it would make a great movie. I mean, they don't have to do something like that. They could just do a cool Vader story for it. But like Vader in the comics is such a great character, and we don't get to see that in the movies. Like his annual is one of the greatest things I think I've ever read, simply because of his ending. He's on this planet where they're having like a revolution or whatever, and like he's trying to help stop it. And at the end of the book, he's been carrying this box around with him the entire time. You don't know what the box is. He's like jumping on lava, doing all this crazy stuff, but this box is on him the entire time. And at the end, he opens the box and he hands the queen this rock, and she goes, "What's this?" And he goes, "It's what remains of Alderaan." And he just walks away. That's the end of the book. We don't see that
Oh
Vader in the
wow.
movies, and I think it would be great to see something like that with Vader in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's like, "Oh, that quip he makes in Rogue One is so out of character," where he's like, "Don't choke on your aspirations." Like, no, that is very in character for Vader because
Yeah.
he does it constantly.
I,
Well, let's face it, we don't get to see a whole heck of a lot of Vader in the movies. As
Yeah,
far as to get a good sense of his characterization, we just get to see him basically under the Emperor's thumb. And I think a movie would be a good transition, a good way to see how he transitions into being this a-hole who was Anakin
show him
into being
hunting down the Jedi.
yeah, well, and
mm-hmm.
then seeing how his personality is as Vader, transitioning from Anakin to Vader, and then completely being subservient to the Emperor. Because I mean, I assume there would be a transition there.
Yeah, I mean, with so in the current run of Darth Vader, it's in between episodes 3 and 4. The last one was in between episodes 4 and 5. This one's 3 and 4. I'm only like 4 issues in. There are 10 issues now, but I am way behind on it. But the first couple issues are him learning about Padme's death, all that stuff, and then him going to build his new lightsaber. And in doing this, he finds a Jedi that was like kind of left to go on their own journey, like they self-exiled essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And Vader comes for them, and it is a brutal, brutal fight. He's thrown off a cliff, and the next issue immediately starts with him like bent and all out of shape, and like his burns like visible and stuff, and he rebuilds himself using the Force, and it's like just this gut wrenching, disgusting scene. And like he brutally murders the Jedi after he like slaughters an entire town by drowning them. Like that Vader is very brutal, and I think it would be very interesting to see in a movie.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see more of the extremes of Vader, like on the big
Yeah,
screen.
exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot
We see very
unexplored with
middle of
him.
the ground Vader.
Yeah, yeah. You see him like at his like most basic is like how I describe it, how it seems.
Except in Rogue One, where he fucking,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
wow, I didn't mean to drop that. I am sorry. Where
You're
he
good.
utterly destroys people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said for me to watch my language, and immediately I just, well, wait, we said PG-13, we get 2 F-bombs. I dropped one. All right. Ooh. They
I
can
heard
just be bleeped
nothing.
out later.
La 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 la.
But
Um,
he
yeah,
just he does that all in Rogue One. But I felt like it kind of like it sort of breathed life into the fire a little. Like it sparked a flame where everyone was like, "Oh, Vader can be that cool now." Like for
Mhm.
anyone that doesn't read the comics or the books, like they don't know that Vader. But you see it in Rogue One, and everyone's like, "Vader can do that stuff. That's so cool." Like
Yeah, 'cause in the movies like before that, like he was cool, but he was cool by not doing much, but still appearing
exactly,
like super
he was
powerful.
threatening, like he
And
was
then
menacing.
yeah, and then he like we got to see him demonstrate his power
He's
for
he becomes like a horror villain
yeah,
essentially. He
yeah,
becomes
yeah.
like a horror monster because
Exactly.
he when his lightsaber ignites, like he's not just in the darkness. He's on the edge of it. Like he's right where the light stops. And that's the like creepiest part about that scene. Like I think that's what really makes like your like your pants go brown. Like that's what makes them go brown in that sense
Mhm.
is because he's standing there on the edge of it. And like you see that, but you never see it anywhere else. And that's the problem with it. You could take the stuff out of the comics if you want, or you could just make it original. And
Mhm.
that would be better than a solo movie probably.
Yeah, 'cause like a solo movie they can do good with it, but it's also so easy to do bad with it. And there's so many other things that like it would be so much easier to make and make it good. Like Vader, there's so much material you can draw from, and you could easily like make an original concept too. And like, I don't think many people at all would complain about having a Vader movie, because like
Yeah.
Vader's one of the coolest characters in like film history. Everyone wants like a bunch of people want a Boba Fett movie too. Like, it's just like they could do they could do so much better
Yeah.
things.
We're kind of going in circles with this. Does
yeah.
anyone else have anything to say on it? Because I was going to say we could go on to the other topic I mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
if
That's fine.
with Black
Yeah.
Widow.
Well, either way with me, yeah, because it seems like we've been hitting these topics and staying on them for quite a while, which isn't a bad thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. But if you guys want to talk about that, supposedly there's a Black Widow movie being made, and I'm like, well, what are you gonna do with it? Like, I mean, I saw a trailer for a movie the other day that's coming out, and it it's like called The Red something, but it's essentially just the Red Room from Marvel. It's essentially a Black Widow backstory movie without being a Black Widow backstory movie, like how a lot of people were like The Shape of Water is just Abe Sapien the movie. Like
Hmm.
that's essentially what it is. So I'm like, what are they gonna do with it? Like, and the only reason they're doing it probably is because they saw how successful Wonder Woman was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're hopping on that feminism bandwagon.
I
Actually,
mean,
I hope I didn't get too political there, guys.
I don't
No,
care. I'm
you're
just
good.
saying, like, I don't think like Wonder Woman did anything because it was like some feminist movie. I think Wonder Woman did great just because it was a good movie with a good cast,
I
and I
totally
think Marvel's
agree.
misreading it. Like, I think Marvel's looking at it as like, oh my god, we can appeal to the female audience, but it's like I know like a ton of guys that really liked Wonder Woman just for being a good movie. Like, it doesn't. You don't have Natasha is not a good role model for little girls. So if that's what they're going for, it's gonna fail.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that is what they're going for, but when you have something like Wonder Woman win like best action movie at the critics like awards, and then you get an announcement of a Black Widow movie, you kind of go, "Huh, these might be related."
Yeah,
I agree.
I definitely agree. And like I feel like they could do good with it, but I feel like they would do better with it if it didn't, at least because it does seem like what you're saying is correct. Like I feel like they could do a lot better with it if they just decided to do it without it seemingly being because of Wonder Woman, because I don't
Yeah,
want Black Widow to emulate Wonder Woman really in any capacity. Wonder Woman was great, but Black Widow is very different. And I like a solo Black Widow movie could very easily be good, but just the timing of it makes me worry about what they're gonna do with it and their motivation behind making it.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw like some place wrote an article like, could Black Widow mean like an all-female superhero movie, like just all the female superheroes all together? And I'm like, that is literally the SNL skit they did. That you just wrote an article
Yeah.
about the SNL skit, buddy. Like,
Yeah. I think that'd be really beating the female thing, beating the audience over the head with that.
Oh yeah.
as it did great with audiences, because it's not why it did great. It did great because it had a really positive message. It had a character that's a great role model for boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
It just it has so much. It had a ton of traction going into it because of her appearance in Batman versus Superman. Like it had so much going for it. Black Widow, in my opinion, has nothing going for it as a movie. As we've kind of wanted it for a while, sort of, kind of. We've mentioned it. Why not do it?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is too, I think with Wonder Woman, not only is she a pretty popular character, she's part of DC's big three.
Yep.
Um, but I think also a lot of people didn't like. I'm probably gonna butcher her name, Gal Gadot.
Yeah,
I
Gal
think that's
Gadot.
how you say
Uh,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, some at first when she was cast, I don't think she was too popular with some of the fans. But let's face it, I think she did a pretty good job in the role.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she also came across as a likable character, somebody with a good amount of personality. I think Black Widow, handing her her own movie, I think they'd have to give her more personality, more characterization, because just watching somebody who has a very, very quiet, sullen personality, kind of like, I shouldn't, maybe not sullen, but again, there's not a lot to her on screen. She's not very expressive. I don't blame Scarlett Johansson for this. I just think that that's the way that they wrote the character.
Yeah, she's been
Like,
Yeah.
can you really,
Well,
yeah,
she's
can
been
you
like
really
a
here's the
build a
thing.
movie around that?
a very
I think you
stoic.
could actually, because
Yes.
something very interesting, and I just thought of this, is we were talking about with Agent Carter earlier, but what if they made, and this would be a risk they would be doing, making Black Widow a film noir movie, and you could have her showing all her different spy skills.
I
Maybe
would
as a
love
character,
that.
she's a bit stoic and quiet and keeps to herself. Maybe Hawkeye shows up, but it's her using her different skills as a spy to do different things, and her skills from the Red Room. Because in Agent Carter, we saw a lot of stuff to do with the Red Room in, like, I think the first season, was it?
Mhm.
They had a ton of stuff involving that. And like you saw the double sides of the characters that were involved with it. So it's like, well, why not do that with Natasha? We don't really see her do spying stuff. Like she's just always kind of around, or like she's just been captured.
Yeah,
It's
they
like, is she
always
that bad of a spy? Like
like they
we
always
never see her actually be a spy.
yeah, they always imply that she has the abilities of like the best spy ever, but they never really fully demonstrate that. And I really think they could flesh that out in a solo movie if they do it right.
Well, I think it could be a fun movie if they did sort of like, I don't want to say James Bond, but sort of an espionage type of movie.
Definitely.
Um, and I don't think it would hurt to give her a little bit more personality,
Mhm.
without ruining what you did, or without pooping all over what you did before with her. But I think the best bet, this is just my humble opinion, just sort of doing something standalone, not too connected with the rest of the Marvel universe,
Yeah.
I definitely
without
agree.
having, yeah, without having this, the just make it a little bit more low key, and I think you'd have a pretty good movie.
Yeah, and I think like having Hawkeye in it to some capacity would work totally fine because while he's nowhere near the same character, he's one of
Hmm.
the more similar ones in the universe in terms of extent of abilities and like tiers among all the characters.
Who would you want the villain to be? If you could think of one. Because I have an idea for one.
I don't know.
So
I can't really think of one off the top of my head unless it was just like some organization that they're working to
I
take
mean, I was
down.
thinking like Batroc the Leaper, like him and her going like for something, because they introduced Batroc as like a mercenary in this. Because remember,
Yeah.
he was on the boat that Cap saves in Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
He's the guy that Cap fights. They introduce him. He survives as well, as I assume. They didn't show him dying,
Yeah.
so he's around, and he put up a challenge against Cap like slightly. So I think he could put up a challenge against Natasha, but it could be both of them like they they are on the opposite ends of the job, so they have to go up against each other. Like I feel that would be very interesting. Like he wouldn't be the main villain, but he would be like a like antagonist associated with the main villain, which could be a corporation or something.
You know what
Hmm.
wouldn't be a bad again, I'm probably stretching because he changed so much from the comics, but Baron Strucker,
Yeah,
he did live
that's
at the end
true.
of maybe him sort of putting Batroc into employ.
Oh wait, no,
Um,
didn't
it,
he die? I
well,
thought Ultron
actually,
killed him.
no, Strucker.
Strucker, yeah, didn't Ultron kill him?
No, well, no, he was in Civil War. He was in that prison at the very end.
I don't remember that. I could have sworn.
Strucker was the guy who engineered the whole thing for Captain America. Oh, excuse me, for Iron Man to sort of get upset and go after Bucky and get
No,
Captain America killed.
you're talking about Zemo.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zemo. Where I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
a
like
horrible
really
Different
speaker.
confused. I'm
Baron.
like, Strucker got murdered by Ultron in Age of
Yes,
Ultron.
he did. Yes, I apologize.
Zemo was a great villain, by the way.
Yeah.
He's one of the best MCU villains.
Hmm.
That's why I just wonder if, again, because he could pull strings and maybe,
Maybe.
yeah, even though he seems to be kind of a rogue type of villain, just sort of off on his own, not with a whole lot of power. But if they could do something with him getting involved, maybe trying to revive Hydra, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I just think it needs to for Black Widow. I think it's going to definitely be a lower level movie
I
or
Hmm.
mean,
more grounded.
I don't think Zemo would be a good villain for that. And maybe this is me, but I felt like of all the villains that they could have killed in the MCU,
Hmm.
Zemo would have been a perfect one.
Well,
Because
the way
his story was complete by the end of that movie. Them keeping him alive is keeping him alive for no reason, really. Because his only motivation was that his family died, so he wanted to get back at them. And he did. He tore the Avengers apart. He did it. He accomplished his goal. There was no more left for his story. If he had shot himself on that mountain, I wouldn't have been that angry about it. I still would
Hmm.
have thought he was an amazing and one of the best villains. So
I mean, I don't know. I just think, but the thing is, that iteration of him, he didn't have a lot of power. In the comics, again, he's a Baron.
yeah,
He holds rank within Hydra. Over here, he's just sort of doing a lot of these lower level things on his own.
but I thought this one
Um,
made it so great. Is the
yeah.
thing. He was just a normal man. We literally know nothing about him. As far as we know, he's just a normal dude that did a bit of research and was like, yeah, I can destroy the Avengers, and he did.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
I think he could fit in the Black Widow movie as the villain. I feel like they'd have to somehow develop his character a little bit more first, give him
Yes.
some sort of motivation. I don't know what that would be. I'm sure they could figure something out though, and like maybe he tries to start to organize something, and like you said, like pull strings to try and start doing something else, and then like she goes in espionage style and like takes it out.
Or
Yeah,
I was thinking more along the lines of maybe Hydra didn't get killed off 100% completely. Maybe there's some small branch of Hydra out there still operating, and they say, okay, you did this to the Avengers. Let's see what you can do here, and then that's when you get to see, I guess, Black Widow sort of do her thing and have it be maybe some sort of film noir type of things, trying to unravel what's going on and having him on the other side pulling strings. I don't know.
Hmm.
yeah.
I'm just throwing darts right now.
We could choose different villains of all kinds, even ones that aren't in it. But honestly, I can't really think of any villains that would be good for Black Widow movie because Black Widow doesn't really have a book. Like she doesn't have her own villains. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just kind of there. She's always just kind of been like, for lack of a better term, accessory to the Avengers.
Hmm. I think the way it would work best is for her to take down some sort of organization, so it's not like one single villain. Although, like obviously, single villains could be
I think,
part of it. I just don't know what that organization would be unless it was like
yeah.
some secret remnants of Hydra. Although I feel like that would be a little bit weak. But yeah,
I
I feel
mean,
like that would be like the best type of villain.
this is going to be a bit hypocritical of me because I hate it when the MCU has people fight their own like evil selves. But what if they had other people from the Red Room? What if they did that?
True.
Like there are other survivors of the Red Room that she didn't know about, and they're doing like some crazy stuff for some. They're doing some crazy stuff for some other country, and she has to take care of it or whatever.
I
Or like
think
they're
that could
becoming a
work.
threat to the Avengers for some reason. Like because they're Russian, they're working with Russia or something. Like
Yeah,
you
and
could do
like
a ton of things.
the motivation is already there, so it's not like they'd be
Exactly.
empty characters or anything like that. I think that could
And it
work.
and it's not her trying to kill them, it's her trying to help them.
Yeah,
Like
and like
because
even if
she
she
was able to break it, so how could she help them get out of it?
yeah, and like
Yeah.
even if she did end up killing them, it'd be like really emotional and like have a big
Yeah.
impact on her.
And you could explore more of it. Like that would be great. You could because they
Hmm.
explored it a bit in Age of Ultron. They showed the flashbacks and stuff, but they didn't really show the Red Room. So
I
you
think
could go into it even more.
I think that'd be a really good way to like have her be more emotional, but like it still makes sense why she isn't in other settings
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she has more
I
reason
do
to.
I do want to say with her as a character, why I don't think she could hold a movie of her own is that in the Avengers movie that she shows up in, because she only shows up in those now, or Captain America Civil War, is they have essentially made her an accessory to Bruce Banner. Like those two
Oh
are
yeah.
a
Mhm.
thing now. Like that is her character now. Is she's the Hulk's girlfriend. Like what else does she like? She doesn't do much in Age of Ultron besides literally just getting the Hulk like she's just like Hulk smash later. Now go smash those. Like
Yeah.
and then in Captain America Civil War, like she's the Hulk isn't there, so she's kind of hanging around. But like she she's just what is she? She like fights one person and then does some stuff, but she doesn't really do anything. She has no like we see her skills more in Iron Man. Like she like in Iron Man 2 she was great in my opinion because she was like
Hmm.
this mysterious character. Like there was actual mystery to her. She actually seemed like a spy.
Hmm.
So
Honestly, this may sound weird. I think I'd like a team up movie like equal parts sort of Black Widow and Hawkeye. I think they
I
could
think that
really
would
work
be interesting.
well together
Well,
because like they've shown them having some sort of like not compatibility romantically or anything like that, but just like being acquaintances in the movies and like working well together.
they
Um,
Oh, you
have
mean
a
like,
history.
yeah,
yeah.
kind of like a buddy movie.
Mm-hmm. But
Oh
like,
my god, a buddy cop movie. Imagine Black Widow the buddy cop movie.
yeah, but like also still sort of espionage type, like a
Yeah,
mix of the two. I feel like that could work.
buddy spy.
Yeah,
That would be ridiculous.
because like they would work amazing together in terms of like their characters, like their
Mhm.
abilities and everything go great together. I feel like that could really work.
They already have a rapport that we're familiar with and we like.
There's a very
Well, and
good
So
base
exactly,
to build on.
and I don't think you'd have to change your character in that respect because you'd have Hawkeye or the Clint character.
Hmm.
He could provide the humor. He could be the guy who's more emotional and more relatable. And she could just be there, kind of stoic and stone faced.
Hmm. Or
yeah,
even if they still did like survivors of the Red Room as the villain, and then like see a little bit of her emotion, and then like, cause Hawkeye we've seen,
Hawkeye gets killed halfway through the movie.
cause like we've already seen he like cares about other people a lot, so like and like he would definitely be one of the first people that she would call for help with something like that, especially with his skill set and stuff. So I feel like it would make sense.
Or he would be like, Natasha, don't just kill them. You could help them. You got out of it. Maybe we can help them. And
Hmm.
like the movie's just kind of like them going back and
Yeah,
forth on
because
it while
he could
also
definitely
tracking them
help
down.
her open up a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
it would
Well,
be interesting.
it's kind of like not exactly, obviously, but like you have Sherlock Holmes, who's almost a completely unrelatable character, and then you have Holmes there, who's your point of view character, and I think and definitely more relatable, and I think that that's what Hawkeye could be to her
hmm.
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
You need like the straight man for the audience,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
and that would be Hawkeye. Hawkeye's the straight man for all the Marvel movies, and it's great.
hmm.
Him and Rhodey are like are the characters you're supposed to relate to in a lot of it.
Yep. All right.
I mean, like I said, I honestly don't think they need a Black Widow movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like there's a lot. I say this about like every movie, but like I feel like I have my vision of what I think would be a great Black Widow movie, but in
Yeah,
reality, the likelihood that that's gonna happen is very minimal. So
Hey, yo, Disney, if you're listening, do something good.
hit us up.
Uh,
Yeah, do something good. But
we'll see what they do in the next like 5 years that comes out,
yeah.
or it'll never come out. One of the two.
But I think that's a pretty good place to end it. Uh,
I
Hmm.
would say so. We talked for quite a while.
yeah, this was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. That went really well. So now if you want to go around, plug any of your social media or anything else you're working on, anything like that, you can go ahead. Aaron, would you like to go first?
Sure. So you can find me pretty much everywhere at Mariasha. I'm on YouTube as well under the name Mariasha, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. That is what my name is on everything.
Hmm
So,
Mike, would you like to link any of your social medias?
Right now, I don't really do much on Instagram or anything like that, and God knows why anybody would want to see pictures of me. But right now, I have a Twitter account. It's at the Bondo Man. And no, it's not what anybody thinks. I should probably change that, because somebody's going to think I'm into horrible bondage, and I'm not. That was an old artifact when I used to do auto body work. Because Bondo is what you use to help fix rust and whatnot. So yeah,
yeah.
I should probably do something else in retrospect.
All right.
But for now, it's just at the Bondo Man.
And I'm Nightwolf. You can find me on Twitter at Nightwolf689. That's pretty much the only social media I use. Links to some or all of those will probably be in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe, and definitely tell us your thoughts on any and all of what we talked about because we covered a lot. Let us know what you think. So thanks for
And follow the
listening.
Twitter for Awesome Asylum
Oh yeah. Also at Awesome Asylum on Twitter.
because we're working on getting that going.
And Nerdy Geek Talk on Twitter too. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we have our own Twitter. So go check that out. See ya.